under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just three of us tonight, so.
Well,
Not that long.
thanks for showing.
Seriously, okay.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Motion and a second on the action of the minutes. All those in favor? Vote. Adjustments to the agenda.
Nothing, sir.
Public comments. Josh?
Josh Porter, Whittemore Road, Oxford. Has there been any talks with the state as far as putting a turning lane in on 26 from mainly Action up to Potter Road? Just with the amount of businesses over the last few years, that road's getting pretty busy. Seems like you're always ditch diving to get around people. Just wondering, because they've done everything south of us and everything north of us. So is there a section that's going to get done eventually?
They certainly haven't mentioned it to me.
Yeah, not to put you on the spot, chief, but the speed limit can probably only go so high on roads that have a turning lane like
I
that.
want to say within the past 2 years that had been brought up, and that was the concern, was they'd have to drastically reduce the speed limit along there. Their concern.
I mean, that's fine if you gotta reduce the speed. I'd rather be able to keep a nice steady flow of traffic instead of stopping every.
Yeah, it's been quite some time since I've heard any more from DOT about that.
Yeah, and it's getting pretty rough anyways. It seems like it needs to be.
That road is full.
Some we can certainly inquire.
Yeah, I'll make a note. I'll reach out to DOT and see what they say.
Anybody else? Going. Business items. 5.1, review, approve, updated third-party request policy.
I think this is pretty simple. Currently, the policy, the third-party request, just as a refresher, is the policy that dictates when nonprofits want to request funding from the town. It goes forward to town meeting. So currently, the policy states that the requests are due taking the Friday closest to the 29th when we're putting the deadline, but we'd like to clean it up and just make it no later than the last Friday of January. There's a draft of it in there if you folks are okay with that change.
Motion to approve the change.
Second. Discussion. All those in favor? Vote. And 5.2, discuss proposed ordinance changes.
So tonight, the reason this is back in front of you is real quick to give you a quick update on some of them, but the biggest one is the panhandling ordinance that we discussed. I passed out a legal brief to you folks at the last one. I think the lawyer and I would agree with him, would caution against the panhandling ordinance, just given the risks, if you will, or the constitutional challenges of the outline. But before I dismiss it, does the board, what would the board like to do with that?
No sense getting in a fight we can't win, but I question whether the guy in the middle of the road is a good idea.
So I'd ask the police chief about maybe if he could speak to that, just some of the things that we can do and possibly with sometimes.
Yeah, we dealt with that, especially last summer. The gentleman that was hanging around the lot out in front of Hannaford made a complaint about that's private property. Initially, it became an issue because he was on Pizza Hut's property that they lease. So we didn't tell them that Pizza Hut had to be the one to tell us to remove them. Initially, they didn't have a big deal about it. And then it became an issue, so they told us they wanted them gone. So that was an easy fix to take care of. The gentleman that's on the island down here quite often, we called the state. He's not obstructing a public way. He's not intoxicated in public or anything like that. Really, my hands was tied with that. I don't care for the look of it, but
Neither do I.
My hands were, there's not much I can do there with that. And the problem is, if we do make an ordinance, that's all well and fun. I'm sure you saw the legal brief that the town manager sent out today, but If I go up to this gentleman and say, all right, I'm gonna charge you with a, ordinance violation, whether he signs it or not, I still can't drag him off of there. He can tell me to go pound sand, we still have the problem. And then the town has to pay to prosecute that, and it's probably gonna cost us more to prosecute it than the fine he's gonna have to pay that he's probably not gonna pay anyways.
But if he's getting in the public way or making a disturbance.
Right.
It's disorderly conduct or.
Or obstructing a public way, or.
Well, I
anything
mean,
like
he's
that.
sitting there in the middle of the thing and
Yep,
somebody not paying attention,
absolutely.
you could squat him like a bug.
Yep, and the state really wasn't too interested in getting involved in that when we called them.
Okay.
I think we're stuck with one.
Yeah, no, I mean,
The one surefire way to have him disappear is people stop giving him money. And he won't be there every day like he is. There's only one reason he goes there every day,
And it's shocking how many people give him money.
so.
And the only reason I say that is I saw somebody one time offer him food. And he literally threw the food on the ground and said, I want your food, I want your money. So that was something we dealt with through a
Most of them are the same.
Sounds like a littering ticket.
Can't get drunk.
Okay.
I don't feel there's anything we can do about it, I guess.
You could put the ordinance in place and it's not even, like the chief said, it's not even gonna be enforceable.
Let's just make another rule, we got enough of them already.
That we don't enforce.
Working on that.
My fear is though, if we enact an ordinance, townspeople will know that, which as they should, they're gonna expect us to enforce that. And again, if it costs the town more money than what we're gonna get out of it, to me, I don't see it's feasible for the town.
Rick, if traffic is stopping to pay him, is that obstructing?
It would be, but I've yet to have a complaint about that.
Okay.
We've had no crashes because of it, nobody's called and complained about traffic issues because of a guy being there. If I had a complaint like that, I could start working that avenue, that would help me, but we haven't had one.
Put that out there.
Alright, so I'll take that as a lead.
You wanna vote on it, or you?
No, if you guys are good, I just wanna make sure that we're all on the same page.
Battle we can't win.
Quick update on the others.
We're gonna run down through them all real quick, or are you?
Very quick.
All of them on here, so.
Yeah, just solar ordinance, we discussed that the last time. AvCog and the code enforcement officer are working actively on incorporating a draft to put into our land use ordinance. That seems like the best place for that to go. With the parameters we discussed, acreage, decommissioning plan, those kind of things. And then the sewer ordinance, the draft of that, a red line draft will be done shortly. That's a pretty straightforward one. Zoning maps, same idea. AvCog is helping us with that. Mass gathering, I'll have a draft of that in front of you here shortly. And then a red line version. And the sexually oriented businesses and event business one that we talked about, those are gonna be redlined and ready for you shortly. So we're just progressing along, so I think we're good.
Six, town clerk.
The property tax foreclosures.
We have them, you wanna talk about them or not?
Only if you have any questions. Everybody do the list.
So, everybody here knows that we opted not to waive foreclosure on any properties, and are there any of the mobile homes in the park that have a big, is there one?
There's only one, and it is abandoned and has been. The park was going through, eviction and the abandoned property process. Legally, otherwise than that, you can see it's a pretty small list. We had nearly, I think, 40 that were in the pre-stages. That's all that's left that, didn't meet the deadline. They have until May 25th to pay all of their, back taxes and to reclaim the property. After that, it will go through, and be listed with our broker,
So at this point, they have to pay the back taxes as well?
everything.
And I mean, assuming everybody knows they have till May 25th.
So they have, all of their, intent to sell notifications have been mailed out, certified mail. None of them have come back so far, and in that it states, along with another letter letting them know they have until May 25th to pay, all their taxes, and, they also received an account statement, letting them know as of the date it was printed, explaining that interest accrues daily.
Any questions? Thank you. Seven, Board of Selectmen Budget Committee Joint Session. So this is for the budget overview. Most of you are the budget committee, so you're gonna get your books tonight. Town manager brief overview. This isn't the night where we're gonna discuss and chop stuff up. That's for the budget committee to do on your night, select board to do on our night. Adam?
Alright, yeah, so I will pass out the books, and then if you guys will let me have a few minutes, I'll run through some of the stuff now, so. No, they're not named. Do you guys wanna, budget committee guys, do you wanna come up and grab these? It'll save us some. For you, sir.
Lucky.
I know.
It's like town manager Christmas, I get to hand stuff out. I made it smart.
I like that work. I think a great job.
You're correct, yeah, that one's not ready. Alright, so, just for those of you who are new on the committee or haven't seen this before, and then a few changes that have happened. So the way the book is broken down, try and make it a little bit user-friendly. In the beginning, you have a tab that's marked schedule. That's our budget calendar. Most of you have seen that in your email, but that's in there for quick reference. There's also a tab in there with the roster of who's on the budget committee. So just everybody's email is in there and our contact information and so forth. Then there's the budget summary. I'll get into that a little bit more in just a second on the actual amounts. But there's a budget summary. That's the entire operating budget. It also has the total for capital requests and then the projected county and school assessments. That county number was confirmed a little earlier today. There's also, under the summary tab, you're gonna find the 10-year capital plan totals in there. So it's, you gotta unfold it so you can see the whole thing. And then as you go forward and you get into the individual departments themselves, one of the things that I really wanted to focus on this year was starting to get some uniformity through the entire budget so that each department is broken down into different sections. For instance, now every department is standardized with payroll expenses, which is like your taxes and your benefits and stuff, utilities, supplies, contractual, credentialing, which is like employee training and so forth, and then maintenance. Also, another change you're gonna see from last year is there was a municipal tab in here, which was like its own department. It was kind of like a catch-all if it didn't really fit somewhere with like liability insurance or fire hydrant maintenance or that kind of stuff. What I've done is I've taken that And for instance, the liability insurance, which is a town-wide thing, I've divided it up amongst each of the departments. So if you were to look at, say, the Public Works Department, you would see what their portion of that liability is. It gives you a better picture of what actually the Public Works Department costs because, well, the liability cost is in there. So I think it makes it a little more user-friendly. So just real quick, I will look at first the summary sheet. I'm not gonna get into too much detail, but just some things to note. So for all of these, COLA, 3% COLA was used for the payroll unless it was a union position or a fire department, which I'll touch on real quick in a second. The police department, the payroll for the police department is, it's judged by the union and we're currently in union negotiations right now. One of the things that I was tasked with at the beginning of this, in talking to some of the selectmen individually, is that they wanted to see, and I agree, as you'll see, they wanted to see some areas where we could try and save money. So the police department, the budget that you see, it shows a $92,000 increase. Well, that's not funding 2 vacant positions that we have right now. That's leaving it the current staffing levels that we have. So based on the salary projections and so forth, not to give too much shock and awe, but if we were to fund those, that would be about a $245,000 increase of what you see right there. So the chief and I are not necessarily, I'm not gonna say we're not on the same page, but we're certainly, he wants to maintain his staffing at the current level. So I do plan on, when we get to the police department budget, he's gonna have an opportunity to explain to the budget committee and the selectmen his thoughts on the staffing and where things should land. So the door's not completely shut on that, but what I put in there was based on that. The Public Works is pretty straightforward. They have a union as well, so that's where their salary negotiations came from. Fire rescue, again, an area tried to save a little bit of funding now was during the day, we have 2 per diem firefighters, Sunday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We also have a full-time fire chief, so what I looked at was removing per diem hours, 12 hours a day, so we leave 1 per diem person all day, Monday through Friday, but then the fire chief fills in as the second. So that's where you see some changes there. Public safety buildings, those remain the same. Recreation is another area that the rec director really pushed hard to try and get her assistant to be, or part-time person to be full-time. I felt this wasn't the year to make that change, so you'll see that it still remains a part-time, but I'm sure that she will want to make her pitch on why it should be full-time. Let's see, so then the other big one that you might notice is when we get down to debt service, there's an increase there, but that's because we have the new road bond that we started last year. So we will obviously get into the meat and potatoes of that stuff when we get into those individual budgets. The other thing I want to point you out to is that when you look at the capital plan is a little bit different this year. One of the things that, in talking to the selectmen individually and other feedback I've gotten is why aren't we saving more money so that we don't have to borrow money in the future to do things? So what I put together here is a 10-year plan that goes out. It includes fire trucks, it includes police cars, it includes all of our bigger purchases. But if we follow the plan and appropriate the money along the way, we're not gonna have to borrow money in the future. The exception of that would be is if we end up with the next fire truck we go to purchase, potentially in the next couple of years, we're gonna need to borrow money for that. That's too big of an ask right out of the gate to shift gears like that. But if we follow along with this plan, it gives us an opportunity to potentially not have to borrow money in the future. It also takes into account, along the bottom, you'll see it says total regular debt service. And that just tells you how much we're paying in debt service every year from the town. To me, that seemed important when we're talking about trying to save money and paying the debt service. So you'll notice that there's a big jump in how much that we're gonna be potentially trying to set aside in a few years out, because we stop paying for the road bond, we can start contributing to the savings account, if you will. So then lastly, revenue is in here as well. There's a couple of things, you'll see some asterisks, and that's because most of these are based on 3-year averages, but there's some that there was a couple of other oddballs thrown in there. And also transfer station revenue was broken out, because I seem to remember getting a lot of questions about that last year at town meeting, so I thought it was better just to throw it out there. So all in all, what I'd ask, especially from the budget committee, is when we get ready to sit down and go over these budgets, if you can take a look at them ahead of time. If you have questions, feel free to email me or call me and we can talk about it. Maybe I might be able to get some extra information, you know, that kind of things for you. But otherwise than that, I'm pretty excited. I think this is a good budget. I think it's definitely a good working document. I look forward to working with everybody. So, does anybody have any questions, or are we ready to just wait until we get there? Good.
No questions. On behalf of the select board, we greatly appreciate all of you, some of you coming back, and as you know, you're a couple members more than the last couple of years, because we authorized increasing the board because we had people interested, so it's good to have people involved. Town manager updates, we just did it, we have more?
Just quick stuff, fuel contracts have been signed, the CN Brown for everything, except then Dead River for propane. The 40-acre lot, the wood cutting has already started up there, which is good. Comp plan committee ad, that'll be, I made a mistake, it says posted already, but that'll get posted shortly. We just finished the language on that. And then just a reminder, town meeting is Saturday, June 6th, 10 a.m. at the Oxford Elementary School. Mark your calendars. And then I was also going to ask about the clerks. I've got a new training coming up later at the end of the month for the board. It's for a voting training. It's on the Wednesday, the 25th. It's one of the days they could do it. It's an all-day thing. I'd like to, rather than do it all sporadic, potentially just close just the clerk's office so they can all three attend this training and do a one and done. The coding officer and everybody else will still be here. Would the board have heartburn about that? We posted.
I wouldn't.
So Wednesday, the 25th, it'll be all day. Good with that? That's all I got.
Selectmen items. You covered it.
We're, did we ever, or are we going by the old one as far as calling? I've had a couple people with records call me and want to know if we ever changed that, or as far as when you're calling out a
Like rotation?
rotation.
Yeah, the officers each have their own individual rotation, because if we go through dispatchers rotation, they won't just factor in Oxford taxpaying businesses. It would be Russell's, all of them. So I'm trying to cater to our taxpaying businesses. And through the accreditation process, we have a new policy for wreckers, and I've been communicating with the wrecker operators that this was coming, and I'm gonna give them a copy of that so they can see if they meet the requirements or not.
Okay, because I've had a couple of them reach out to me because they didn't necessarily feel that was dished out the way they thought it ought to be.
What was
The call,
The calls for the record.
calls for the, because they felt one in particular might have been getting more than the others. I'm not, you know,
it? I know one of them was shut down for a while. They had mechanical issues, so I don't know if somebody felt or wasn't listening to the radio. I have no idea how that's working, but.
well, if you've got something worked out to do it, you know, if you reach out to them and give it to them and
Yep.
these things say I did my job.
Do they keep a record of that? I know dispatch, when they have a log.
Dispatch does. I try to get them to write it on their duty log so I can keep track of it. Sometimes it's forgotten. One of my issues I'm dealing with.
Nothing else? Sign warrants?
Yep. here's a couple of the oaths for budget committee members that you guys need to sign as well.
You're gonna do
Yeah.
Yeah.
You trying to sneak out the back?
Yeah, watch your sign papers. Good. I'm excited about the committee. I'll see you next week.
Maybe, sir.
Good night, Sharon.
All in favor? Made the motion, right?
Sure, I'll make a motion to sign warrants 92 to 96. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion to go in executive session 11.1 for labor contract discussions pursuant to MRSA Title I, Chapter 13, Section 456D. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good deal.
Good.
Oh.